and welcome back to Sense and Sensitivity. I wanted to do an update today about SIBO and my diet and how that's related to rosacea, and to kind of do a follow-up because if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that in one of my first videos I talk about how when I was diagnosed with rosacea, it was right around the time I was diagnosed with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is a digestive issue. And so in my case, just to give you a quick summary, the gastroenterologist believes that because I traveled abroad a lot and I got stomach bugs a lot from all my travels, they're seeing this a lot in people who have had that experience where down the line they end up getting SIBO and digestive issues, and they're thinking it's related to that, but not exactly sure how. So that's kind of what happened with me, and just long story short, it had gone to the point where I was just having a lot of pain when I ate, no matter what I ate, and so it was like I was getting to the point where I was stressing out every time I needed to eat, which is multiple times a day, because everything was giving me a stomach ache, basically. And that is because of how the bacteria, which we normally have in our system, but because of the overgrowth, they're reacting to digesting your food, and it causes pain in your system. So I had to go on a special diet to find out my allergens and triggers called the Low Fodmap Diet, and I had to take antibiotics for a couple of weeks. So antibiotics for a few weeks, and then doing the Low Fodmap Diet for about 3 months, eliminating a lot of foods and then slowly reintroducing them. And I lost a lot of weight during that period of time. It was very difficult, but it was well worth it because everything changed because of that. I, was able to eliminate the pain and digest food easily again and find out what my triggers are, and I'm doing great since then, and that's been about 3 years now. So I just wanted to give a follow-up so those of you with SIBO kind of know what's happened with me. So basically the big thing we discovered from that experience and what the GI doctor recommended for me was to go gluten-free. They said a lot of times when they see SIBO and rosacea together, gluten is a big trigger that causes the redness and stuff. So I did go gluten-free. That means avoiding wheat in all the general common products of bread and pasta and sauces and whatnot, and also beer. So I've been gluten-free ever since I started on that Low Fodmap diet and went through that process, and it's done really well for me. I was able to, after a time, gain a little bit of the weight back that I had lost, but I think I found a happy medium I actually, now this is all pre-baby, ended up weighing a bit less than I used to, but more than when I was at like the deepest depths of the process of the Low Fodmap diet, which was just really strenuous, and my intention was not to lose weight. It was just a byproduct of having to eliminate so many foods. And that's all to say that I think eliminating the gluten and some of the other foods has helped my body find its equilibrium, and it ended up being that I ended up weighing a little bit less because I had less inflammation overall. That's my theory anyway. So that's kind of the diet I've been eating since then, which is gluten-free. I also avoid spicy foods because of my rosacea, because that's a huge trigger for me. I avoid red wine because that's a huge trigger, and now I just avoid alcohol in general because I was pregnant, had a baby, and now I'm still breastfeeding. You don't have to avoid alcohol when you're breastfeeding as long as you do it right, but I just do because I'm not a big drinker anyway. So that's kind of the gist. So what do I eat? I eat gluten-free bread products like Udis. I love the gluten-free pasta by the 365 Whole Foods brand. I eat tons of veggies, but I do still avoid onion and garlic, which are a big no-no on the Low Fodmap diet because those just tend to irritate my system and give me tummy aches. Absolutely I avoid them if they're raw. And if there's some food that has a lot of onions or garlic in it, I'll avoid that, and I don't cook with them at home. Occasionally, I'll use a little bit of like garlic salt, and that, as long as I keep it really light and it's that dehydrated garlic, that seems to be okay, and add just a little bit of that flavor. When I go out, I tend to choose foods that it's like impossible basically to avoid onion and garlic when you go out. But I choose foods that are well cooked because I seem to digest them better in well cooked foods. So like if I get a salad and there's red onion on top, I'm gonna pick that out and not eat it. But if I'm getting some sort of meat or stir fry dish and it has a little bit of onion or garlic in it, that's usually okay. If I can see big chunks, I pick those out too. But yeah, I eat meat, I eat dairy, milk, cream, butter. I try to use organic. Fruits, fresh fruits, frozen fruits. I eat a lot of rice, brown rice, white rice, mostly white rice. Yeah, the big things that I try to avoid are the onion and garlic, of course gluten, and then spicy things because that hurts my tummy and it also can cause a flare-up in my rosacea. Now there are some veggies that I do feel like irritate my rosacea a little bit, like bell peppers. Sometimes beets seem to do that too, where I notice more warmth or redness after I eat them. But I think I've come to a point where I understand my rosacea well enough, and it's more important to me to eat a wide variety of foods for the health benefits that in general, I try to eat everything that I can, but maybe foods that seem a little more irritating, I won't eat every day or super frequently, but I won't completely avoid bell peppers or beets because of the health benefits, and I think those outweigh the temporary increase in redness that can occur, but it doesn't always. It's not a surefire thing like spicy food. It's just, that's instant for me. I don't find that hot drinks irritate my rosacea, but for hot drinks, it's really just teas or occasionally hot chocolate. I don't really drink coffee anymore. That's something that I eliminated when I went through the Low Fodmap Diet, and I tried to reintroduce it because I love coffee. And I just found that I really didn't feel well drinking it. And it wasn't so much the stomach. It was more like I think the caffeine was affecting my heart rate and I was feeling kind of dizzy. Occasionally I'll have a decaf and that seems to be fine. My big tip for that is always, always eat when you're drinking coffee. I know a lot of people like to do like coffee as their breakfast or intermittent fasting and you're only drinking coffee. I really don't think that's a good idea, and I know from the research I've done there are people within the medical community who don't think that's a good idea because, adding all that caffeine to your system and that acidic liquid with no food, it's kind of just throwing you off balance and like making you go through extremes. So if you can handle coffee, great, because coffee is delicious and amazing, but I highly recommend eating food when you drink your coffee. And the same goes for black tea, which is what I do now, and I don't have the caffeine effects from that, but I always have it with some food, and I think that really helps to allow me to ingest it, which is something that I enjoy, and also they have antioxidants, both tea and coffee, and not get the negative side effects of it. I'm just looking over at my notes. So what else? As far as supplements, I do take a multivitamin. I take a prenatal formula now because I'm still breastfeeding, and I've been taking that for a long time because of the pregnancy and everything. Before that, I was taking just a women's daily multivitamin. I know people have different mixed feelings on them. I honestly feel like over the years I always feel better when I take one consistently. So that's what I do, and I really like that. And I'm taking one by New Chapter, but I also like My Kind. The other multivitamin I've taken in the past and really like is Ritual. That's one where you purchase it online and it's a subscription. I liked the women's multi, which was lemon flavored. The prenatal one was mint, or postnatal one was mint, and that one I did not like because I don't care for ingesting mint in that way. I'm just a little bit sensitive to that. But I did not ever get indigestion with those, so I really like Ritual as well for a multi if you're looking for them. And they're cool because they're all about using less ingredients, so that means less chance of reacting, right? So, and those are capsules, so they're easier to swallow too. I like the Ritual a lot. I wish they made the postnatal in a non-mint flavor, then I would take that one. Um, um, Other than my vitamin, I do try to supplement vitamin C sometimes. So I take a whole food C complex vitamin. During cold season, or if I'm kind of feeling run down, I like to do that. And then the other thing is I do use the collagen supplement. Not every day, but I try to use it at least a few times a week for the boost in protein, and I know like the hair and skin and nail benefits, so I do use Vital Proteins. There's other good brands out there. You got to do the research yourself, but the beef one, not the marine one, is what I use. I like. I don't think it adds a lot of flavor except like to tea. You can't put it in tea. It makes it really gross. But like smoothies or hot chocolate, I'll add that, and and that's great. And I do think, I know it helps with gut lining, so it really helps the digestive tract, as does bone broth, which I also make. So I'll roast a chicken and then I'll use my Instapot to make a bone broth from the carcass and make a soup out of that, or use it to cook vegetables in, or to cook rice. And that's awesome. That's a huge tip that I recommend for healing your gut, is bone broth. And you'll know it's good. You got to make it yourself if you can, because you'll know it's good when you cool it overnight and it's like jelly or jello the next day, not liquid like you get in the box. That means it has all the collagen and all the good stuff that is going to help coat your stomach. So I try to do that once a week. Get an organic chicken, roast it with the fixins, debone it, put that in the Instapot with water, filtered water, a splash of apple cider vinegar, and cook it for 4 hours. They have like the broth setting on the Instapot, and that broth is so good. If you're vegetarian or vegan, I don't really know what you could do that would compare. But I'm sure if you are vegetarian or vegan, you have your whole own research that you do to care for yourself. But this is what works for me. So yeah, I try to eat a little bit of everything that I can. Bone broth, collagen, multivitamin, those are my simple supplements. I'm not trying to get too crazy with that stuff. And so as far as rosacea goes, I was kind of hoping that when my GI doctor said they often see gluten as an issue when somebody has SIBO and rosacea, I was hoping that after a time of avoiding that, the rosacea would magically disappear. Well, it has not. So I guess I was hoping that the rosacea was caused by the SIBO, and once I got the SIBO under control, the rosacea would go away. But in my case, I feel like I have the SIBO under control and have for a while. And my rosacea, I have under control because I manage it. It didn't just go away. So I get the flare-ups when I eat things that affect me, or, if I'm really stressed or nervous, or in a really hot environment, or all the things that are my rosacea triggers, those are still triggers for me, despite the fact that I feel like my digestive health is greatly improved. So at least in my case, perhaps the rosacea appeared or was initially triggered because of the SIBO, but helping heal my SIBO and my digestive issues has not taken away the rosacea. So that's unfortunate, and I do kind of just think that both are things I have to maintain long term. On the SIBO end, it's just keeping up with the diet that works for me. On the rosacea end, it's avoiding the triggers, using the skincare products that work, and keeping it gentle and simple. So that's kind of that. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to add. I just wanted to give this update. I honestly, digestive-wise, I feel great, and I'm so thankful for that, because if you've gone through this process or any sort of digestive issues, you know how bad it is. Like, when you fear food because of how it's going to make you feel, and that's something you need to deal with every day because we have to eat, it's an awful, awful place to be in. And if that's where you are right now, I hope this video can just give you hope that if you stick with it, and hopefully have access to a medical provider to help you pinpoint your triggers, take antibiotics if you need to, and go through the process to find out what irritates you, and then incorporate some healing foods that work for your system over time, you will see a great improvement. And that's going to help your physical health, your mental health. You're going to be able to go out and enjoy food with friends again, with some caveats of trying to avoid things that really irritate you, or sometimes coming home with a little bit of indigestion because you just wanted to eat what you wanted to eat despite the fact that you knew it might bother you. But I've been able to find a lot better balance, and I feel healthier and more energy, and I get to love enjoying food again. And so I hope that the same can happen for you if you're still going through this. Leave your questions or comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content from Sense and Sensitivity. Bye for now.